Every fan of every NBA team wants you to glaze their team after they make a big signing for a big name player. And at the same time, they want you to tell them that their team's winning an NBA championship, that they're so brave and strong for being a fan of that basketball team. So when Klay Thompson, 4-time champion, Klay Thompson signed with the Miami Heat earlier today, and I'm getting on here and saying that I like this signing, but I still don't believe that the Miami Heat is currently constructed are a championship basketball team, people are going to get really, really ticked off. When I said the same thing about the Philadelphia 76ers a few weeks ago, people told me that I was doing it for the money. Now listen, I don't know who you think I am. I'm not Skip Bayless trying to get my next big payday out here reeling off hot takes. I evaluate basketball from what we've seen in the past. And I think it's very important for basketball teams to be built and constructed filling out each role on the roster. And the Miami Heat have a glaring weakness at point guard on this team. Now, I'm not going to be all negative because I do like the signing of Klay Thompson for the Miami Heat. I like the fact that they went and traded for Giannis Antetokounmpo. They're an organization that has consistently tried to win NBA championships, and you have to respect that. In an era where many teams are not trying to win, many teams are constantly rebuilding, barely make the playoffs, the Miami Heat every few years do a reboot trying to compete for an NBA championship. So I absolutely respect that from the Miami Heat. Their culture is so talked about. Eric Spoelstra is a terrific coach. Pat Riley has done incredible things in his time in Miami. But when you look at the way that this team is set up going into next year. Now, Klay Thompson signed a 2-year, $13 million contract. And from my understanding, they do have the ability to make one more signing for a veteran minimum player. I don't think that that'll move the needle on my opinion of this basketball team. But we will wait and see what happens there. This team has super, super impressive strengths, particularly when you have a front court of Giannis Antetokounmpo and Bam Adebayo. That's one of the strongest front courts we've ever seen. You're talking about a lead on the defensive end of the court, a lead on the offensive end of the court, going to be very dominant and very difficult to play against on a night-to-night basis. It's going to be really hard to score in the paint. It's going to be really hard to, be physical enough and have two big men to be able to compete with them when you're on the defensive end of the court. The Miami Heat absolutely have something that will create mismatches when they're playing against other teams in the Eastern Conference. The problem is, late in basketball games when they are close, who in the heck is going to be handling the basketball for the Miami Heat? And that's a huge question mark for me because we saw when Giannis was on the Milwaukee Bucks that Chris Middleton took a lot of late game shots. Drew Holiday would handle the basketball in clutch situations. Giannis Antetokounmpo from time to time felt like he was running from those situations because he doesn't love to shoot late game free throws. He can't really hit a late game, fadeaway mid-range jump shot. So when they are in those situations in Miami, who will be handling the basketball? Is it Davion Mitchell, who is for his career has averaged 4 assists a game? Last year, I think he was a 6.5, but for his career, he's a 4 assist a game guy. Is it going to be Tim Hardaway Jr., who we know doesn't pass the basketball? He's in there to get buckets, and, that's another signing the Heat did. They're really prioritizing adding three-point shooting, and that's something that I really like. I'll get to in a minute. Is it going to be Andrew Wiggins? Do you trust him in late-game clutch situations? Klay Thompson, we know, is not a ball handler. He's a catch-and-shoot guy. He'll make a shot if he's open. So is it Giannis or Bam? Who is going to be the one handling the basketball down the stretch in a playoff game, in Game 6, Game 7, when you need a big bucket? And that is the big question mark that I think is very important to ask. When you look at teams that win NBA championships, they have the ability they always have a closer. Last year, the New York Knicks won an NBA championship. Jalen Brunson was their closer. The ability to create his own shot, create for others, handle the basketball in crunch time, when palms are sweaty, when you start to clam up and get nervous. Who's the guy making those plays? I don't believe they're going to trust Davion Mitchell for that role. I could be wrong, but I just don't look at Davion Mitchell as that level of player in big playoff moments. We've never seen it, unfortunately. Obviously, he started his career with the Sacramento Kings, now with the Miami Heat. So there's a lot to love about this team, but a huge glaring question mark. Now, on the flip side, when you look at the Eastern Conference, I have question marks about a ton of teams. Absolutely. You look at the Detroit Pistons right now, it sounds like Jalen Duren and them are, at major war. They're at odds. Who knows when that contract, or if that contract is ever going to be settled, if Jalen Duren's even going to be on the Pistons next year. And he was a huge piece of their team last year, so absolutely some flaws with that team. The Boston Celtics traded Jaylen Brown, Tatum returning from injury, Paul George doesn't play a lot of games. The Philadelphia 76ers, you have all these alpha dogs. I'm not entirely sure how that fit's all going to go together. The Cleveland Cavaliers made a move for Peyton Watson. I do like that move, but you always got to question, how is James Harden, how's this team going to perform in the playoffs, because they tend to melt down. So if you're a Miami Heat fan, I understand why you're optimistic. But I still think that this team is very flawed, and they are going to have to find a way to make an additional move to fill that particular void. When we get to, midseason, the buyout market, a cheap point guard or an older player or a guy just trying to win an NBA championship would be attracted to this roster and the ability to handle the ball down the stretch. So there is possibilities that they could have add a player like that. But I'm talking as currently constructed with Davion Mitchell, Tim Hardaway Jr., Andrew Wiggins, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Bam Adebayo, Klay Thompson, Bobby Portis, Drew Smith, and Nikola Jovic. Who will be the player that takes on that role? Now, I do want to talk about this. Adding Klay Thompson. The Miami Heat now have a good amount of shooters on their team, which was really important to put around Bam and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Obviously, Bobby Portis is a good shooter. Tim Hardaway Jr. is a good shooter. Davion Mitchell shoots a pretty good percentage. Klay Thompson, we know, is a really good shooter. So they have shooters on this. Andrew Wiggins can shoot the three ball, right? They have shooters on this team. And you're bringing in Klay Thompson, who will spread the floor, space the floor. It'll help allow Bam and Giannis to work when they get down low. Klay Thompson isn't going to take any non-3-point shots hardly at all. But part of the problem is he is getting towards the end of his career. Last year he averaged 11.7 points, 1.4 assists. Again, I'm talking about a guy who doesn't really pass the basketball. Shot 38% from the 3-point line. That has started to drop over the last few years. We know Klay Thompson is one of the greatest 3-point shooters of all time, but we have started to see that slowly decline in his game as his points per game has went from 20-something to, I believe last year it was 14 or 16, or 2 years ago, and then last year it went down to 11.7. So Klay Thompson is getting into the later parts of his career, but adding him I do think is valuable for the Miami Heat and what they're trying to accomplish. So as we go into this next season, the Miami Heat are going to be one of the most fun teams in basketball to watch, one of the most fun teams in basketball to cover. But I have huge question marks about their ability to win an NBA championship, and I can't, in the right mind, pick a team to win an NBA championship that I don't know who's closing basketball games for them. Unfortunately, that's just the way that it works. Again, Jalen Brunson, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving. We've had many great, it's usually guards that close game basketball. Jamal Murray did it for the Nuggets. You almost always have a closer in order to even get to the NBA Finals, but win an NBA championship. And I think it'll be a huge question mark. So I can't wait to watch this team. So Eric Spoelstra, we know, probably the best coach in the NBA, so he'll get the very most out of all of these players. The addition of Bobby Portis, I think, was a little underrated, but I still don't believe that this team will be able to accomplish what they think they can unless they're able to make one more addition for that guard. I appreciate y'all watching. If you love the NBA, if you love NBA content, make sure you take a second to subscribe to the channel. We're at almost 1,600 subscribers. We're covering all 30 teams this offseason. Appreciate y'all watching. Cyborg out.